When did you first pick up a basketball?
Wow. My earliest recollection of that was when I was 8 years old. My brother decided to try out for the middle school team, and I did everything he did. And so he wanted to try out. He's 4 years older than me. He was really serious. I need the ball. I need the goal outside. I'm going all in. Now, he didn't make his team, but he spent a lot of time doing it. I followed him around, and for the first 4 or 5 years I was playing against boys who were 4 and 5 years older than me, and it made me a pretty good basketball player when it came time to play against girls my age, when it was time for me to try out for the middle school team. So that was the beginning, 8 years old.
From 8 years old through middle school, elementary school, through high school, through college, that little orange ball kind of was who you were. Um, eh, when you look back and think about it, did that thing always make you happy?
Oh, it did more than make me happy. I mean, you talk about happy, but you talk about having an identity. When you're young, you want a sense of belonging. You want a sense of confidence. You're searching for these things. When you're younger, you're looking for this information to make you feel or validate who you are in the world. And sports does that for kids. And so, yes, without question, it was my identity. It gave me confidence. I believed in it. People liked me for it. You know, that's a really important thing. What do you do well that people acknowledge and like you for? And that's not just something that ended when I stopped playing college basketball. It's something that ended as of April when I resigned from UNCW. That round ball created a life for me that is, the ROI on it was, I can't even put it into words.
I read your bio. There's been a million things that have gone through your life, starting young all the way through. Did that basketball mask hide the pain that you had and things that were going on?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, because you need something to mask it. You need something. I think I poured, pain creates an energy in you. Pain and hurt comes from sadness, and that's an energy. And oftentimes we take that energy and we are self-destructive. We damage the lives of others. We take on toxic behaviors. I'm so fortunate that basketball was a good thing. I'm so fortunate my brother just chose to do basketball instead of sell drugs, because that was an option for him. That was something we could have done too. And I'd have been right there with my great energy, feeling validated, giving me an identity, all of these things. It happened to be that. And I'm always grateful that it was that. Yeah.
While that basketball brought you through, just talk about that day, the day you were hired at UNCW. Was that kind of the pinnacle? Was that like, did you sense this is the start of something amazing?
I sensed that. I mean, just being honest with you, John, I sensed God's grace, because in November of 2011, so I got offered the job in May of 2012. In November of 2011, my mom got really sick, and it was to the point where she could have died then. And I spent a lot of my 20s developing as a young professional and being so driven and wanting to climb this invisible fake societal's ladder of success and do all these things. And I was at Tusculum College, and I was happy. I mean, I was happy. Bought my first home, had a great program around great people. And my mom got really sick, but I wasn't treating her well. I was very negative. I was very angry with her, and I was not being a great daughter. And when she got sick, I thought 2011 November, God, if you allow her to live, or as long as you allow her to live, I will honor her. I will correct those wrongs. I will love her. I will respect her, and she will be first, not this basketball thing. Now that happened. And so when Jimmy Bass offers me the job in May, it's almost like the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, is saying, well done. Because when I put basketball second, I mean, I was driving from Greenville, Tennessee to High Point, North Carolina twice a week to go to doctor's appointments, to do all of these things, and not spending as much time as I would have liked to with my team with that. And it was almost like an alignment, like this needed to happen for you to grow to the next thing. And And so that was also a part of it. It was like, man, I did both now. And so I've gotten to this place, and I wasn't going to, I've never picked up the phone and called anybody to get a job. I never did that. I've only had 3 jobs in coaching in 14 years. I was at UNC Asheville, I went to Tusculum, and I was at UNCW. So I've never been that person to try to find my way to get in that position. I'm just at home, minding my business, the spring of 2011, and it's UNCW interested in having me come up for an interview. I'm like, what? It was like, wow. So yes, it was a lot of things coming together. It was a lot of emotions coming together at a pinnacle where I thought, man, these both can work.
Over those years, how long were you truly passionate and still loved what you were doing?
I was really passionate all of the years. My mom died in 2014, right? So the 14-15 season was, it sounds bad, but I don't know if you've ever been with a parent who you've kind of watched pass away, but it was a long 2.5 years of watching her deteriorate. And so when she passed away, it was almost like, okay, now I can live my life of basketball again. It was like, okay, I honored that, and now let's go. And so the 14-15 season was our most successful. If you remember, Bree Mobley and Kel Atkins and some of those guys. And it was like we were, chipping away, and then things happened. And it didn't happen the way I thought it would. And I was confused a little bit. And so I was not aligned from that point, from after the 15, going into 15, 16, 16, 17. It was like I was pushing against something that was, it shouldn't be that difficult. Life should flow like water. It should feel like that internally. And so this year I got really sick physically. Mentally I wasn't right. Just waking up very lightheaded and very just not myself. Just did not feel like myself. And when the season ended in March, I did not come to the office for about 5 weeks. And I didn't miss it one day. And I thought, okay, there's something here, and you better start paying attention, because I'm not one who can wake up and fake it. I refuse to live a life where I'm not excited about my responsibility to impact the lives of other people and serve them with all that I have. It's not fair to anybody. And so I just had to have a little look in the mirror. Like, what's next? What is supposed to happen now? And I thought, the first thought was, it took me a while to get there, about 2.5 months. And it's time to resign. It's time to walk away from basketball.
You have had so much success playing Tusculum, or Asheville, Tusculum. Mm-hmm. You go to UNCW. It was difficult. There's no doubt that job was a difficult job. What you were brought in to do was difficult. Mm-hmm. Was that hard to balance, knowing I'm trying to build and fail, since you never truly, not saying you failed, but you weren't getting the results you mm-hmm. wanted? Was that difficult, especially from somebody who'd always succeeded?
Well, first of all, I think it's great that one would think that I've always succeeded, but I've failed too. I've fallen flat on my face a lot, because when you're operating at a high level, like you're playing in the ACC, there's so much required of you that you're gonna fail. You can't meet those standards every day. And so I acknowledge that too. And yes, it was hard not to achieve what I envisioned doing at UNCW. That was hard, because those expectations were on myself. But at the same time, several things that I envisioned happening did happen, in regards to our young ladies graduating and recruiting the type of women that took those responsibilities of being community leaders, as well as representing us the right way academically, and some of those other things. They were positive, because the program was not like that when I got here. And so we moved in the right direction in some regards. And to be honest with you, in coaching, there's oftentimes a coach has to look themselves in the mirror and say, am I going to compromise on some of the things that I really, really believe are in the best for a child 20 years from now? Or am I going to ignore some of those things in order to allow myself to look successful and them to look successful in the short term. And that was really hard. That was probably the hardest, you know what I mean? Because I could have made a lot of decisions there for the sake of winning a basketball game that I didn't.
When that day happened in April, when you said enough's enough, how many days or how long had you truly been thinking, okay, you said you didn't come back, you didn't miss it, but when did you say enough is enough, and kind of what was that mindset that day?
I stay in a state of constant, awareness. I want to be aware. I think that's very important for us. I think it's important to know when we've grown and we've changed and we've transitioned in life. Every 4 to 5 years, my life is now, I'm able to view a pattern in life. You go to college, you get out, 4 or 5 years. I'm at UNC Asheville 4 to 5 years. It was actually 6. I stayed 1 year too long and I had it in writing. I knew that, 5 years. I'm at Tusculum for 3 years. Okay, so that was a little different, but that first year I was at UNCW and that second year we're also still in that pocket of the same thinking. Now I have to grow so much personally with taking care of my mom and dealing with personal unspoken wounds, and then professionally, and then publicly. Let's not confuse it. Being a college basketball coach and a player, where you get to perform and people come watch you perform, they get to do this. And so that's a different energy when you're not doing well that can cause you to doubt your abilities. And so I was being challenged in all those ways of growing and remaining myself. So I take inventory a lot. And in taking that inventory and trying to be self-aware and examining where I've grown and what's next, it took me a long time to say it, but once I said it out loud, then it was like, okay. And then I called up my best friend and I said, I'm going to resign. I'm going to resign. And it was like, really? And I was like, yeah. And I was ready. And I was like, because this is what feels right now for me. And I don't know what's going to happen next. And I really didn't care what was going to happen next. But in the moment, I felt like there needed to be, close that chapter and let's go forward.
A lot of people might think she's crazy. She's got a great paying job here at UNCW. She has another year on her contract. She just walked away from essentially, I won't say free money, you got to work for it. But
sure. Comfort,
yeah. She walked away from this. People, what possesses someone to do that?
Well, those people don't know me. They may stay in their jobs because of the paycheck and the benefits of that. I'm not that person. I never picked up a ball to when I was 8 years old, I didn't pick that ball up to be a full scholarship athlete in the ACC. It's a byproduct of my work. It's a byproduct of loving it and the passion. I did not start coaching to end up as the head coach at UNCW. So for me, it's never been about that. It's always been God's grace and him saying, job well done. And now this door will be open for you because you've treated people right and you've done things the right way and you live a life of purpose and intention. But for other people, that may have been a real good reason to, keep a job and not be happy every day. And that not for me. My view of success is being able to wake up every day and have the freedom to succeed and fail on my terms and do what I believe is right for me at the moment.
You've really catapulted and gone into a new direction, a new you. You've started this company. Was it scary when you decided and said, okay, this is what I'm going to do? Was it nervous? Did you get that new feeling, that feeling of when you were walking out on a basketball court when you knew you were facing a tough opponent?
It's all nervous. It's all fear. It's all, you never know it's going to work out. I don't know it's going to work out. I believe that I have what it takes to endure whatever type of struggles I need to endure. And I think I'm intelligent enough to learn what I need to learn, but I don't know. I wake up every day and I'm going to fight that battle, to fight fear, to fight, to see what's on the other side of the hill. I say that all the time, but it's so true. I don't know that when I start playing basketball, I'm going to be good enough. I remember being at my first tryout like where somebody can cut you from a team, and thought like, man, I gotta be like really good today. Because I'd never seen girls play before. I didn't know where I stood. And I just so happened to, it took time for me to realize, oh yeah, you're good at that. But you gotta trust yourself, you never really know. And so, yeah, there's fear every day. Every day, I'm doing things I've never done before, and I love it.
Being able to go out and motivate and try to help others get the best out of themselves. What does that feel like? I mean, is a lot of this stuff that you write down messages? How do you plan when you go into whether it's a conference, a seminar, what you're going to tell?
Well, I mean, right now, I ask and find out the group. But for me, I think that that's part of my gift. It's been part of my gift in coaching, that I have the ability to inspire people and enlarge their visions of themselves and think above and beyond what their inherited belief systems are and their inherited circumstances and events that they feel like they're limited from. That has always been the gift. Basketball has been something that has been the distributor for me to get that message out. But if you ask any player I've ever coached or any assistant that's been around me, they would definitely say, yes, she's definitely on that inspirational end. She's definitely talking a whole lot more about how can I be a better daughter, or how can I go be a CEO one day, or how can I own that business. I mean, that's been a general message. It took me a while to realize that's not as common for coaches to do. And so I'm just communicating those same messages of inspiration. Right now, the tagline, the thesis for what I'm doing is to inspire the world to make adversity their advantage. Because as a adopted child, grew up in a sexually abusive home, a verbally abusive home, there are a lot of unspoken wounds that a lot of us carry, and we adopt toxic behaviors. To watch your mother die, to not win basketball games, to be viewed as something that you're not, to be criticized by your players or by your boss or by the newspaper or by whoever. There's a certain level of discomfort that comes with that. I want to help people with that. I want them to get back up and know who they are and define success and failure for yourself. Define what you deem to be confidence. Define how you get that, to set their own rules and own your own outcome. So that is the thesis behind any message I'm ever going to give. But obviously it'll be catered to whatever group I'm speaking to.
Is basketball still in that basketball realm, and coaches, is that still helping you? Because I've seen you've gone to different colleges, different schools. Are you still using basketball as an avenue into these places?
I have to. Because it's who I am. It's my DNA. I speak basketball. I speak sport. Everybody can't go into someone else's locker room or to someone else's team and know exactly what's around the corner. I know what's around the corner. I got friends who are head coaches now, and I tell them, like, don't be so psycho. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. Stay the course or whatever it is. So I know that, and it'd be a fool for me to not engage in those relationships or be in that space while I am continually trying to master the skill of being a unforgettable, dynamic orator of information.
You talked about these 4 or 5 year blocks.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of like year 1 of that block.
Mm-hmm.
But are you prepared for what that next one is? Where does Refuse to Lose go from here?
It's international. It's a company that has office space in 5 different corners of the world, where other young people with stories get the courage to share their stories and help other people to inspire the world to make adversity their advantage. There are books. So I will be a published author in 5 years for sure. Actually in 12 months. So there are books that are aligned with that. Anything that is inspirational. My vision is to partner, to really collaborate in philanthropic work, in community service work. There's a lot of people in my hometown community of High Point, Greensboro, Winston-Salem area that I'd like to work with to try to help our young people develop a stronger identity of who they want to become and who they want to be, and understand the options and opportunities in this world. So there's a community involvement. There is obviously a publishing component of it that I really want to share curriculum, like to teach people how to do this, because no one teaches you. No one teaches you what to do when you're adopted. You know how many people talk to me about that? Zero. Nobody. Nobody wants to go there about your mom dying, or about you got diagnosed with cancer, or your wife left you, or you got fired, or the world is telling me I'm not good enough, and you believe it. Like, people aren't discussing these things, and I think it's hurting our world, and I just want to be an advocate for change in those spaces. So I'm just going to keep going until I impact the entire world.
You read your bio and your About Me on your website. You've opened it up as a book. It's open.
Yeah.
How difficult is it? Because I mean, there's things I didn't know about you.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about, you talked about being adopted. I knew that the sexual abuse, the verbal abuse. How difficult is that to open up and kind of? I'm sure that basketball helped mask and keep those feelings away.
Mm-hmm.
But now, in your 30s, being able to come out and say, "This is my story." How difficult is that?
Yes, the self makes it's a little like, do I put this out here? But once it's out there, it's out there. So so that makes it easier sometimes. But this, being sexually abused, being adopted, are things I have spoke about with such confidence, and it's normal with my teams. I've always been very vulnerable and transparent with them because I wanted them to be very vulnerable and transparent with me. So in that environment and space with my team, who not having family has always been my family, at least I have identified them as such, that has been very easy. Now, when you start to step outside of that world, it was, again, it's a fear, but you have to go at fear. Fear says that's right, do that. Because what I don't want is for people to look at Adele Harris and say, 6-figure salary, Wake Forest, ACC, all this stuff, and I just arrived here. I need you to know that my valleys, when I was down in those dark moments, trying to figure out who I am and, like struggling with, I got a DUI because I was drinking too much, because it was a toxic behavior, because I wasn't dealing with the hundreds of things that were building up. I was just basketball bad. Basketball is not saving you. You have to go back and correct some things. And so I've been able to be honest with myself, I think, to really be honest with myself and understand the darkest moments of my life have actually helped me do this. I share it openly, but I got a DUI in 2009. Well, 3 years from that moment, I had quadrupled my salary. I'd won 3 championships, and I was the head coach at UNCW. People have to know that. I was in the dark moment. I mean, being arrested is not cute. It's especially not cute for people who want to be college coaches. And so I think when you don't share those stories, which most adults don't, they judge millennials and act like they never did anything. No, I did some things, and I have some scars, and I have some unspoken wounds, and I'd like to share them with you, and that I'm continuing to get out of those things. I'm continuing to grow. Today, I have strategies and tools I implement every single day to make sure that I'm aligned and I'm inspired to take on the next task. And if I get punched in the mouth trying to do that I have the courage to get back up. That's what people have to hear more of.
How long has it been since you felt the way you are, have been able to wake up in the morning and go to sleep at night feeling the way you are, which, like I told you, that you feel as if like you're at peace, that you're happy. How long has it been?
Consistently, because you expect some things to be difficult. You just expect that. Every day with your wife is not going to be a 10. It's not going to feel like your wedding day. But if it's 80-20, I can live with that. If it's 70-30, I can live with that. But if it starts to tip to in the 50, that's not good. And so I've probably been slowly coming from an 80-20 to a 70-30 to a 60-40 over the last probably year.
And now it's the back.
Oh man, I'm ready. I feel like there's so much I just want to do the work.
Not having other responsibilities. You are right now your own responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
and not responsible for a team, not responsible for people. Has it helped you heal yourself and mentally, and kind of check back and just, I need to be a little selfish right now and take care of me.
For sure. For sure. And that's something that's very hard for someone with my personality to do, because what's easy for me, or what's natural for me, is to try to find acceptance, because again, it's one of the traits of being an adopted child. When you have been rejected by your birth parents, then you feel like you have to go above and beyond to be accepted by everybody. And you do more. Like, I'm going to do more, but I have to also realize, in exhausting myself in the lives of so many other people, when I have also been enduring things as well, I have to understand when my cup is empty and I don't have anything else to give you. And so until my cup gets back full, nobody gets anything. And so it's a different life for sure. And I get to, wake up, I do my own thing. I work out, I get to eat when I want to eat. I plan it. I don't have to go 10 straight hours in the office and worry about that, and never get to me. And coaches, that's a difficult job. The lack of balance of taking care of yourself is almost, it's probably like no other profession. It's not healthy. Especially if you do it at a high level for a long period of time. If you create some leverage for yourself where you don't have to do so much, your Gino Auriemma, you come to the office when you want to, you just show up at practice maybe. But when you're grinding and trying to build a program, I think it's challenging. And I don't even have, I'm not married. I don't have any kids. I can't imagine what that potentially takes away from you and what you have to do. But it's a different world for me now. I love it.
Has there been a day, has there been a moment that in your brain you miss it?
Not one. I'm working with some basketball teams. I have a few clients, and I've gone to a practice, and a few practices, and this past weekend, I just went to some games. I went to a game Friday night, I went to a game Sunday. And what I've learned is that I'm a really loud fan, and two, that I don't really like sitting through a basketball game. I mean, I don't care for it, right now. Maybe that'll change in 12 months, but it's not something, I don't have to have it. I just want to pour myself into learning what I need to learn, sharpening my tools. I'm doing a lot right now, taking on a lot, trying to build, and not build fast, but really just not waste time, because I don't think we have a lot of it. And so, no, I don't. I've tried to think of, like, do I miss that? Like, I don't miss being in the gym. I haven't picked up a ball in, God knows when. I don't really watch it on TV a lot. I think maybe I'm just at a place right now where it's just about this mission, this work, and trying to grow.